Hey everybody, JJ here, back again for another Wednesday of Zoom networking. And do we have a treat for you guys? The topic is fantastic, and the guest speaker is even more fantastic. The young man that we have speaking to us is another one of the young, rising, shining rock stars out of Pace Morby's sub-2 galaxy of stars. A young man that I've actually met several years ago in a prior education group, and like all the other rock stars from that group, just a great community. Pace has put together a phenomenal education program, and it's the best program in the country. But we're going to talk about our guest speaker. Of all the people I spoke to, I don't think there's a better example of someone who's self-made. This young man has come from humble beginnings, not a lot of opportunity. He made his way. He worked 10 times harder than any of you could ever think about working to become successful, even before he was old enough to vote. You're going to love his story. He's become a successful investor, highly respected in the community, and just a fantastic young man. My good friend, Mr. Elizabeth, Charles Changuin. How are you, Charles?
AJ, thank you so much for that introduction. The more you speak, I'm like, is this really me?
This is really
But
you.
thank you so much. We did speak a little bit yesterday when we were creating this promo video, and I told you the content that I had, and you did mention that, Charles, I think your story should be what we want to start with. So
Hey, hang on. What I want to ask you to start right off the bat, for those that don't know you, what part of the country are you from?
all right. So my dad's Chinese, my mother's Colombian. I'm born in USA, New York, born and raised in New York, Queens, Jackson Heights, but currently living in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
And so that's where Mr. Elizabeth comes from.
That's where, well, the story about Mr. Elizabeth is that I was at a meetup, and Big Guru says, if there's anybody in this place that has a pulse on their market, is this guy, Charles. If I had to think about who's buying in Elizabeth, it's him. He's Mr. Elizabeth. And that name resonated with me. And I was like, you know what? It's time to make a logo with that name. So ever since there is, I branded myself because when I was with you, like you said, in Fortune Builders, I was just, I said, if I'm going to buy something and I wanted someone to take care of my properties, where would it be? Or who would it be? Would be my mother. Where's she located in Elizabeth? So I said, this is the place of choice. And that's where I just started putting my focus on, and that's where I started buying.
Good for you, my friend. Um, and then back to your story. We're going to jump into your story. We all start out in real estate a different way, and no one's got the start that you have. It's amazing. Couldn't be more challenging. You've come through that like a friggin' rock star. And I say all the time, some of us started at the age, we're not even in real estate till later in life, many people. There's that transition from our youth into adulthood. People are driving at 16, they're voting at 18, at 21, they can order an alcoholic beverage. And some people start real estate before that, and many start after that. And, we're starting about your beginnings, about when you started. And at what age were you first introduced to real estate activity or any kind of real estate at all?
Well, my grandparents did own real estate, but I didn't know much. I was taught very early on in growing up is how to value the dollar. And back in the day is when Nintendo existed. One Nintendo game was $40. And at the age of 8 years old, my grandfather used to own a soccer team. And I used to love to go. I used to play soccer also, but I used to love to go with him just because I was able to collect all the cans after the players would drink their soda. And I knew that that was 5 cents every can that I was able to pick up. So I had bags of cans in the garage just so that I could go with my mother and show her that, look, I'm going to make some money. I wanted a game, and I knew what I could have done. My grandfather did give us allowance $5 a week for washing dishes and cleaning the house. My mother gave us $2, so I was already, you start calculating that. $7, it would have taken me almost a month and a half, but I knew that if I were to just increase the amount of cans, and it was funny because the guys didn't even finish their drinks, and I'm like, "Oh, you're done, right?" And I would just take the cans. I just made sure that I didn't lose no opportunities.
So at a pretty young age, you were starting your entrepreneurship. We were talking about yesterday as a small kid. You said that it was pretty much just you and your mom, and you and your mom and your sister, and that you were you're at a very young age going out to help bring money in to support the family. Tell us about that a little bit.
So, at the age of 12, right now I'm 6 feet 3 inches, so I'm a big boy. But by the time I was 12, I was almost like 5'9", 5'10". And I just used to see a lot of guys out in the street, with a little painted here, the pants a little ripped, but they were in construction. So I thought that that was the coolest thing to be a part of. And at that age, I met a general contractor and I said, "Hey, can you just give me the opportunity? I want to learn what you do. And if I could make a couple dollars, I just want to be able to help my mother, to buy some groceries. But I am more interested in the opportunity than anything else." So at the age of 12, when all my friends were going to the park and, summer recess and vacation time, I was waking up at 8 in the morning and I had no time to come back home and just worked till, I was ecstatic of the opportunity that I was given at such a young age to be able to go out and, say that that was a project I was a part of.
Wow. And as you were saying, you were working, but to your surprise, what you thought was great money, the guy was really just giving you probably not as much as everybody else for the same work.
Well, I was taken advantage of, you could
Yeah,
say. I would work from 8 a.m. to maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I wasn't getting paid weekly. I didn't, I wasn't after that. But when I did get paid, which was at the end of the month, I got paid $200 for all that work.
that's crazy.
And like I said, for being big, typically people take up one sheet of sheetrock. He's like, "Oh, you can handle two sheets." And I just was like, man, I don't want to lose this opportunity. So I forced myself to start picking that up. And I was struggling, but I was like, let me just move faster so he really thinks that I'm able to do this,
Wow.
And I had that little fear and pressure behind my head that one day he could say, "No, I don't need you anymore."
So you kept going. Tell me something about helping him with leases or tenants or something like that. And at the age of 14, you had helped close a particular uh, uh, transaction or deal or some project that brought you in a nice little chunk of money before you were even 15.
So across the street was good Dominican friend of mine that I had, and his dad carried two cell phones. We're talking about almost 22 years ago. And at that time, a cell phone was not a commodity. That was like you had to have money. He had not one but two cell phones. And I one day asked him, I said, "Moses, can you just explain to me, like, how do you make your money?" And he's like, "Oh, that's simple. I buy a house, I refinance, I buy another house, I refinance that, I buy another house." And to me at that age, I was like, this don't make no sense. Why would you buy a house, get into yourself into more debt, buy another house, get more debt? I'm like, when are you gonna pay this stuff off? Like, the mentality growing up is you gotta buy to pay it down.
Hmm.
He was buying to add more debt. And I was like, this don't make no sense. So one day he says to me, he's like, "You want to learn what I do?" And I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "You're gonna set up yourself in this at his kitchen table was my office." And he's like, "You're gonna start collecting a month of rent, month security, and a month of commission, real estate commission." We were not realtors, but he told me this is the way you sell it. We had some generic questions that we needed to ask. I was so nervous the first time. He's like, "Look, here's a call. Take it, answer it." And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. And he's like, "No, you're gonna do it. You'll figure it out." And I was like, "Okay, hello." And the people are like, "Oh yes, I am looking for an apartment." "Okay, good. Where?" So I didn't even know his properties. I was so new to this. Long story short, 2 weeks into the job, I set him up with 7 appointments. He closed 5 out of the 7. He comes to me and says, "Thank you, Charlie. If it wasn't for you, I would have never been able to, make as much money as I made." I said, "I'm here. I want to learn. I want to see, continue learning from you." And then he passes me $2,800.
And how old are you at this time?
14.
14.
And I said to myself, I was like, "And this?" And I'm thinking, like, "Do I owe you something?" He's like, "No, that's yours." And I still made double of what I'm giving you. And I said, "Really?" And I said, "My goodness, like, thank you." Like, I was beyond, I had no words for him. But it just showed me that there was a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let me ask you, I know you continued into your teens and, um, where was the transition for you from working or assisting these people to actually starting to move into becoming an investor? Was this later in your 20s or, I know we were both in fortune builders and that happened later on, but
So my journey really started um was when I was around 16 years of age. We came out of church. We were walking by on the streets in New York, and we see one of the guys from the church, and his name was Willie. And I say, "Hey, Willie, what you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, this guy just bought this house for like $60,000. He's cleaning it out. He's making me clean it out, and he's gonna sell it. He's gonna put it up for 100,000." And I told my mother, I said, "Mom, buy it, buy it, buy it. I'll fix it. I know how to do all this stuff already. Like, you don't need nobody. I'll do all this work." And she's like, "Charlie, you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure. Like, buy it." And my mother had the money, so she bought it cash. And I'll put it to you this way. That same house today, with my experience, should have not cost me more than $70,000. But in those days, and remember, I'm talking about today's pricing, 70,000. So 20 years ago should have been maybe 50,000, 45,000. But in those days, any error that could happen or any mistake, I paid the price, or we paid the price. My mother and I paid the price. That rehab cost us $250,000.
wow.
And that's the beauty of real estate, though. On top that, I made all those errors. We kept that property for 3 years. I rented those apartments that no one believed that the prices. I rented them out at $2,500 each. There were 2 apartments, so my mother was making $5,000 a month. By the time we sold that property, which is only 3.5, 4 years later, that property valued at 875 when we sold it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was your introduction to investment. And so, let's move forward a little bit. How did you find out about real estate education? I mean, we're both in sub two right now. We were the prior program, but a lot of people want to be investors and they're listening maybe through the internet or some of these projects, but there are certain groups. Did when you joined that first education program, was that sort of another transition for you in your process of becoming an investor?
So the reality is this: at the age of 28, I still had no clue what I wanted to do in my life. I knew that I was skilled. I knew that I had a brain. I knew that I was a go-getter. I knew that anything I wanted, I could achieve it, but I still was lost. I had no mentorship. I would ask my mom, "Hey, I want to do this." "Oh, good, do it." But there was no questioning. There's like, "Wait, think about it. Do you really want to do this? What is forcing you to do this? Is it just the money? Is it your passion? Is it your heart?" And she was always like, if I wanted just to paint walls, "Hey, Charlie, you're doing a good job. Just keep on doing it." She never like steered me into who I really wanted to be. Or yeah. So my true passion was always cooking. It's culinary. So if you ask me today, "Charles, would you rather continue real estate or go to culinary school?" I'll take culinary or barbecue or cook all day, every day, instead of me just doing what I do right now. So to answer your question, I went to a 3-day event. And at the end of the third day, I was like sold that I wanted this. I wanted to be a part of this team. I knew some of the people there, and I just didn't have the money. I didn't know how to do it. But my mother, she came out with a check and she says, Charlie, all these years I've never invested in you. And I know that this is deeply in your heart that this is what you want. She gave me a check for $7,500. And that was the day that marked me because I said to myself, how is it that my mother believes more in me than I believe in myself? And I said to myself, I cannot let her down. I got to prove to her that I could do this. So she bet on me heavily. And they teach you OPM. Went home, got a credit card, called it in. I need a line increase. My line got increased to $6,000. Now I had 17,000. The program was 32,000. So 17 plus 7, I was at 24. They give you 4 seats. I told one of my buddies that went there, hey, take a seat, is 8,000. And he said, yeah, I'll do it. And when it was time to pay, he's like, Charles, I'm not going to do it anymore. And it was a little curveball for me, but I said, you know what? Forget it. I'll figure it out. And this is me taking risk and chances without me even knowing how I was going to pay this credit card because I had zero income. So I said, it's okay. I'll do it. Now I go a day or two before the full immersion. The guy called me. He's like, Charlie, look, I want in. I'm like, hey, buddy, 8,000 was the price for that day. It's not for today. So he's like, look, I got $9,500 cash. Deep down inside of me, I'm like, oh, and I told him, oh, your price is 10,000 now. If you want me to give you a seat. He's like, oh, come on. He's like, I got $9,500 cash right now with me. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor because I want to see you grow with me. I took his $9,500. Now I had $1,500 surplus, which that was the money that I had for either marketing, going to meetup groups so I could pay my front door entrance, and the rest of the money that I had left over. I, of course, took out money for the calculator, for the monthly statement for the credit cards, and the rest of the money I had left over was money that I was using to invest into people to make it seem that I had something, but I really had nothing.
Yeah, your story is amazing, brother. You just really kind of killed it. I know I like what you're saying the other day about investing into people, and you're talking about taking some of those monies and sitting down for lunch, sitting down for a meal, getting to talk to investors. But that's exactly what you did. You went and you had lunch with people, sat down, got to know them, and built relationships with that escalated your path.
That's it.
Yeah. Um, your topic today is buying real estate with credit cards and getting rewarded at the same time. And that involves, incurring some debt as you were utilizing these credit cards. Do you want to expand on that a little bit and sort of delve into that
So,
topic?
so at one of the meetups, why JJ always says, your network is your net worth. At one of the meetups, someone just gave a little topic, and I tell people, if they give you 100 items, as long as you take 5 items away with you at that event and you capitalize on it, it's going to change you as an individual. So this one guy says, hey, I'm helping guys out with getting credit cards to start your business, your career. Right away, I knew that hard money lenders are going to want to run my credit. So I was like, man, I don't want to throw on all this debt. But then I remember I still have cousins, friends, family members. And I said, why not me fix their credit, get the funding under their name? Mind you, this was not business credit. This was just all personal credit because I didn't have time to wait to build a business credit. I wanted to make money now. I had bills to pay now. So I got one of my sisters and I said, look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to get these credit cards. I'm going to convert them over to cash. I was able to raise her scores, I think, to like 711, 721, something like that. They got her $111,000 and was able to convert the $111,000 into $92,000 cash. Now, all of a sudden, sitting into my bank account, ready to do a deal. So that power is called OPM, other people's money. And when we talk about OPM, we forget that the banks fall into OPM. We're only thinking a private lender. We're only thinking a hard money lender. But we forget credit cards still exist as OPM. So it was only that one idea that came about that was spoken in that room that sparked something in me and said, you're right. I need to stop thinking that I got to produce the money and I got to learn how to use other people's money and put it in there. So the guys, in case you missed the introduction, my name is Charles Changuin, aka Mr. Elizabeth. So I am here to share with you guys how to buy real estate with credit cards and get rewarded at the same time. So I'm born and raised in Queens, New York. Like I said, I started doing construction since the age of 12, but I have there 13, raised by a single mom. I moved to New Jersey in 2008, met JJ in 2019 after joining Fortune Builders. Started with nothing, but learned the leverage OPM. As of today, by the grace of God, I own a total of 42 doors, total of 7 buildings. This is with starting with nothing to not even have money to join a program to now even becoming a private lender that I am as of today. Most of it is owned in one town, which is Elizabeth, New Jersey. So that's a little bit about me. I want to get into the nuts and bolts because I know that this is what you guys are interested in. So, and if there's any questions, please, like JJ said, raise your hand. I will stop, but I actually have a slide as well for the questions. So hopefully through my presentation, I can answer these things for you. So we spoke a lot about me not having money to join for not being able to do the real estate development how I wanted to. The fastest way of you being able to start into getting OPM or bank money is using your personal credit. Do I recommend it with the knowledge that I have? Absolutely not. What I would recommend is always building the business side of the business credit on the business side of your LLC. So these are the steps. If you want, take a screenshot of this, take a picture of it, because this is the golden key to what you need to get this going. First of all, you got to make sure that you want to have a minimum of 680 credit score plus your FICO score as a bare minimum. You need an LLC to be able to start your business. When choosing your names for an LLC, I highly advise, make sure that nowadays that we have social media, make sure that your same name is available in all social media platforms. That is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok if you want. And if you want to personally brand yourself, LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn. Am I on it? Hardly ever. If you ask me which is better, Instagram or Facebook, I think Instagram is for future. It's the youth. It's the younger generation, millennials and up, I would say is for Instagram. Me, I'm in real estate. So I definitely would say I like the old money. Old money is in Facebook. So you'll actually find me a lot more in Facebook than you would find me on Instagram, even though they have automatic posts. But that's a nugget for you to take with you. If you're trying to find old money, you're trying to post to raise money, Facebook is your platform. If you're trying to find employees or people to work with you, guys that understand technology, Instagram is the place where you'll find them. From there, you could get a EIN number, which that's an SS form. You could do this for free online. You got to make sure you get a business address, get a business telephone number. So when I got my first line, I went to Verizon. I got it under the EIN of the business, and Verizon actually reports. So that was a win-win. I'm already paying that bill, so there was nothing extra for that. When we're talking about the branding portion, the domain, make sure that domain is also available when you're coming up with your name. Don't come up with a name just because you like it. Make sure that the same name could be found everywhere you want it to be. And with the domain would be building your website. All these steps right here is what makes you credible when a bank is trying to see how good you are for getting their money. You want to get registered with Dun & Bradstreet. That's a step that many people forget. Another free item. Yes, they will try to promote and sell every product that they can under the sun, but you need to be set up with them. Another free one and a great place for you to get your business at is Google My Business. It has been renamed to the Google Business Profile. Yeah, GBP. So that's what that is. And of course, none of this makes sense till you open up your checking account. So these are the rules that you need to have in order to get your business credit going. So how long does it take to get, how long does business credit take versus personal credit? Personal credit, I already explained to you guys, that's instant. That's automatic. That's something that, you know, if you have a child that's 16 years old, put him on as an authorized user. By the time he's 18, he's ready to rock and roll. So if you want to advance that for him, or if you have a nephew, niece, whomever, start doing that. On the business credit side, it comes down to 3 tiers. Every tier is an average of 2 months if you're doing this religiously. So your first tier is, if you want, you could read it there, but it's more of a vendor trade credit, which means you're going to have like to buy office supplies. And I've listed some examples there. So you could go to Quill, Suma Office Supplies, Crown Office Supplies, and Uline. What do you do? Very simple. You call them in, you say, hey, I want to buy some toilet paper. I want to buy some ink for my computer. Perfect. I would like to buy this under my business name. Here is my EIN. What is the limit that you guys can give me with credit? These places will start you out with $500, $250. And the beauty of this is that they will not need to pull your credit. So this is tier 1. This is where it starts. 90% of these companies report to DNB. Okay, so with the personal side of it, we have something that is called a FICO score. On the business side of it, we have something that is called the Paydex score. FICO goes from 0 to 850. Paydex goes from 0 to 100. If you're at an 80, Paydex score is like having an 800 FICO score. Just keep that in mind. If you have a 76, Paydex score is like you having a 600 FICO. So the magic number is 80. Anything above 80 Paydex score is what the banks like to see. Tier 2 is what we like. This is the real money that we're spending. This is the Lowe's, the Home Depot, the Amazon Business. There's even a card that is a Divvy. This is the only negative part to this. A lot of these places are net 30s, which means that within 30 days, they require for you to pay back the amount that you put on the card. Now, if we're doing real estate, Lowe's, Home Depot, you put that on the card and you just stay with it forever. Some of the perks that Home Depot gives you is 0% for 60 days on their cards. That's what I use most of the time. That helps me, you know, finance my projects. Lowe's, you can do absolutely the same thing. Lowe's actually gives you a 5% discount on every time that you were to purchase from them. But that's tier 2. You do that for 2 months, you can stop using those cards. Let's move on to tier 3. That's where the real money's at. Tier 3 is when you're ready to start applying with the community banks, lines of credit, loans, Amex, Chase, Wells Fargo. These are the big boys. These are the lines and the loans that you can start using for whatever you want, to pay back other people, to buy property. I think on my next slide, I'm going to be explaining that. But tier 3, this is where it's really at. So let's talk business. Charles, you bought houses with real estate, right? How? How does this even make sense? How'd you get credit into cash? Okay, so how are we converting these funds to cash? Great question. Lines of credit, when you get approved, is very simple. You just write out a check. When you're doing loans, that's also simple. A loan is typically the whole amount of money is deposited into your account. The one thing that I'm going to always recommend you to do is always ask for the longest term possible. Most of these loans that these banks are willing to give you are have no prepayment penalty. So this is what I would always recommend you guys. Always ask for the longest term, like Amex has a 6 month, 12 months, 18 months. Take the 18 months just so that your payments are not as big upfront and you can, pay whenever you can if you have it earlier. So, Charles, how are we converting credit cards to cash? I'm glad you asked that. First secret is a company called Plastique. Plastiq. They'll charge you 2.9%, and you can make a payment to anyone but yourself. And trust me, when I tell you can make a payment to anyone but yourself, they will find out. I don't know how, but I said, I got a American Airlines card with my personal name, but let me pay my business. My business name is Fast Home Buyers. Guess what? My account got frozen, and it also got declined. And I called in and I said, "Hey guys, why are you guys not paying this company? I owe them." They said, "Sir, we traced the records. You own Fast Home Buyers." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." So lesson learned. You could pay anyone, pay your friend, pay your neighbor, even your siblings might fall into that category. If you're gonna pay your mom, your dad, just watch out. But the beauty of this is it's 2.9% and you'll get your money there. Another little secret or hack, if you have a friend that is in business and he has a merchant account, typically for businesses, merchant accounts are being charged anywhere from 2.1 to 2.5%. So if you want to get close to 1% cheaper, this is the way to do it. Have a close friend that has a merchant account and say, "Hey, I need 10,000. Can you swipe this card for me?" He's doing you a favor and you're also doing him a favor, because the more money that is spent on a merchant account, the lower the rate gets for him. So just keep that in the back of your head. So what's after? So now we use the money to either buy houses, cash, depends what you're getting. If your line of credit is 100,000, you could definitely buy a house cash. We can use this money for gap funding. Okay. Remember, we'll use the gap funding of 20%. We'll let the hard money lender lend us the 80%. So that's our 100% right there. We could either use the funds to become a partner on a deal, and we could JV. And we could also use this money that we're getting from the bank to be a private money lender. So, John, you were asking the question, do I recommend using OPM for investments? This is your answer. These are 4 ways that I have till this date used money. Mind you, some of these cards that you get are 12 to 18%, 0% interest rate. So if I'm getting these cards at 0% interest rate and I'm actually lending this out at 10 and 12%, you see how now I'm making money on banks' money? And also I put a certain term of, hey, I'm giving you 4 months. After 4 months, there's a penalty. The rate goes to 20%. Guess what's happening? That same money I'm making is paying the bank, plus I'm putting money in my pocket. So you're talking about another stream of income. There you go. There's nowhere else that you're going to be able to put $50, $75, $100,000 in your pocket less than 30 days. Can be a flip. If you got a wholesale, it requires work. You got to have a phone system, a CRM. You got to have the property under contract. You got to deal with attorneys. Why go through all that hassle when you could build your own credit, be in control of your future? This is the way I've been doing it. So the next question is, Charles, which are the top cards now that you explained this and the best banks to start with? Great question. So best banks to start with will be Chase, number 1. Why? Chase has a rule that is called the 524 rule. Chase doesn't like you to have more than 5 inquiries in a 24-month period, okay? Especially if you're applying with their cards. PNC, The reason I love PNC is because PNC will give you a line of credit up to $100,000, okay, with an additional credit card that goes up to $50,000, and they will do this all on one pull. Okay, I'm going to talk about a little hack that I do with these banks when I'm starting with them, but this is what I would recommend in the order that I'm recommending you to do them. And Amex has just rolled out their new bank, so it's online. There's nothing for you to do, and Amex has the most credit cards available to you at 0% interest rates. So the best cards to get, you start with Chase, PNC, you get lines of credit and credit cards. Bank of America. Why Bank of America? Bank of America's limits are very high, okay? And every 6 months, 9 months that you want an increase, they will give you an increase. And once again, Amex. Why? Because there's the most amount of cards there. So, couple tips and hacks. Always open up a checking account with any bank you want to apply. So, for example, if I'm looking to do, let's say, 2 credit cards. Let's say I'm trying to get Chase and Bank of America. I'll open, and let's say I have $20,000. I'll open up Bank of America with $5,000. I'll open up Chase with $5,000. Mind you, I still have $10,000 spare. Now 2-3 weeks later, I'll add $2,500 more to one bank, and I'll add maybe $2,000 to the other bank. There's still like $1,000 left. Now I'll split it 500. Why am I doing this? You may not have the actual income that your company is producing, but you're showing the bank as if you are producing this money. So now what happens if you're going to go apply with Chase? You know what I do? Remember, I had Bank of America money, right? So Bank of America money, I have anywhere between $15,000 and $17,500. I'll pull out another $10,000 from Bank of America and I put it into Chase. Now Chase is like saying, man, this person is a heavy hitter. We've just been seeing deposits of $5,000 and $10,000, $7,000 coming in. What Chase will then do is the money that you have in the account with them, they're going to multiply that by 12. And they're going to assume that that's the amount of money that you're making in your business. So when they say, hey, so what is your net income? If you've deposited $40,000, you can easily, since I'm telling you the formula, you can easily multiply that number times 12. That's 480,000. You don't have to be fearful to say, I'm only making 100. Oh, I'm only making 120. Chase is going to be like, but wait, you just deposited $30,000 in less than a month. How are you only making 120,000? This don't make sense. That's a tip. Take that to the bank because you will make money you will get the money that you want. Do not be fearful. Like I said, multiply by 12. If that number comes out to 480, easily say, add whatever you're making, add also what the household, if you're living with brothers, cousins, sisters, whomever, add all their income. Now that's your household income. You're really answering the question. That's just one little tip. Recycle the funds before applying. Like I said, if you had money in Bank of America, me pulling it out, I forced it over to Chase. Now I got my money from Chase. Guess what I'm going to do now? I'm looking to apply Bank of America, right? Maybe a week later, 2-3 days before applying, I just throw all the money I had in Chase, put it right into Bank of America. Just recycling the same amount of money. Now, when I'm applying, Bank of America is going to say, oh, snap, this guy's got $30,000 in there. How much is he asking for? $50,000? Yeah, we could give it to him. Big secret. When you go into the bank to open up an account, try to build a rapport. Because sometimes it's the banker that you're dealing with that is going to call up underwriting and say, hey, this is a candidate. Please help me. Let's push this. This is what I want for them. People won't apply online because they're scared to talk. You build that rapport. Trust me. They're going to go into a bank. They're going to call you by your name. They will call you up and say, hey, Charles, or hey, John, we got this promotion going on. You want to apply for this card? Take advantage of it. They will be calling you with offers that the bank's giving you. only happens if you build a rapport. If you're not building rapport, you're not getting nowhere. This is a people business. And always learn what bureaus the cards are pulling from. Why? Because you don't want to have too many inquiries on just Experian or too many on TransUnion. If you have 3 cards you want to apply for, and one is TransUnion, one is pulling from Equifax, and one is pulling from Experian, at the end of the day, it's going to seem as if you have never even gotten any of the other credit cards. So that's what you want. And another big hack here is when you apply with American Express, before applying to new cards with Amex, please create an account with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and freeze your account. Did you guys hear that? Why do I say freeze your account? Because once you've been approved with Amex, you're part of their system. Your credit score is on their books. If you freeze your account, you could apply for more cards with Amex. They will not even pull your credit anymore. They're just going to look back to what you had, what scores you had. So you could get 3 cards, 4 cards with Amex with just one credit pull, all at 0% interest rate. So this is one hack that nobody talks about. But Amex gives you limits. Like if you get the platinum, you get a limit of 25,000. They'll let you spend 30, 40, 50,000. It's unlimited card, but they'll cap you at somewhere. Imagine getting 3, 4 cards at 25,000 with one credit pull. You serious? $75,000 all of a sudden that I could start lending out. If I lend it out at 12% interest rate, that's $750 extra I'm putting in my pocket that I didn't need to work hard for. All I need to do is make sure that my credit is in place. Guys, what I'm trying to say is I've learned how to leverage other people's money. That could even be private lenders' money. You know how many times I've borrowed private money lenders' money and reflipped their money to make more money on top of their money? Once you're in this circle that people get to know who you are, what you do, that you lend out money privately, short-term, small loans. I call them microloans. I do a lot of microloans. 30,000 here, 50,000 there, 40,000, 15,000. This week alone, I funded almost 3 deals, all based on one line of credit that I have. My line of credit payment is 1,000, and what I'm collecting is maybe like 2,400. And I'm not doing nothing. That's literally passive. No toilets, no tenants, none of that to deal with. No troubles, no headaches from contractors. It changes your life. So I'm here to ask and open it up. Does anybody have questions?
Graham Norris, you are on with Charles. What's your question?
This has been great, Charles. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think I understand personal credit quite well, but business credit, is there a DTI? How does all that work? You know, obviously there's a ceiling, so.
Boss, this is an amazing question. You know why? That's one of the biggest key points I've left out about getting business credit. With business credit, you could have the money maxed out and it does not show up nowhere on your personal side. On the personal side, if let's say I have a Bank of America card with a $10,000 limit and I've used up 10,000, my DTI is 100, my score is dropped to 600. You know that. On the business side, let's say I have the same Bank of America card, $10,000 limit, $0 that I owe, but I have a line of credit, let's say with the same Bank of America for 100,000, and I've used up all 100,000 of their money because I haven't lent out. My personal side is still 700 FICO. Nothing changes. That's the beauty of business credit. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
So what's about the business side of the DTI though? I mean, how do they determine what credit lines you can have?
How? Very simple, by what I explained to you. They look at your personal profile with your FICO. That's number one. Okay. Number two, they want to make sure that your credit, that your business is in, that your LLC is in business for more than 2 years.
Okay.
And then from there is the relationship you have with the bank. So this is why I gave you that pointer. If you're going to apply with Chase, make sure you at least have a Chase bank account, because now they could say, hey, This guy's been depositing 10,000 and 20,000 every month. If he's asking for only 40,000, I think we could give it to him. We got proof here. His credit is in the 700s. This guy's not looking to destroy his credit. You see what I'm trying to say? These are tricks that if you want to be approved every time, you follow what I just showed you. You follow those 10, 11 steps that I had up front to make sure that your business credit is set up correctly. There's no way you could fail. It's impossible.
Very good. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
Marcia, you're on with Charles. What's your question?
Hey, Charles, I was just
Marcia.
wondering what your thoughts were on, is it Milio? The other
Okay,
one?
Milio, yes.
Yes.
So Milio is very similar to Plastique, very similar. Either or. Plastique is definitely known for the, you could say the bigger boy than Milio. So, you know, and rates, charges exactly the same. I've used Plastique maybe 4 times within the last 2 months. The beauty with Plastique is this: under a certain amount of, like, let's say you want to pay someone out with your credit cards, 35,000. They will ask you, hey, where's your receipt? I want to find out why you're transferring this money. If it's under, I think, 15,000, there's no questions. They just write out the check. If you're gonna do a real estate transaction and you want to swipe your card, you just show them the contract. You're done. So they don't ask too many questions. They just want to make sure that it's not fraud. You know, someone's not twisting the arm and stuff like that. But money takes anywhere between roughly 72 hours for the other party to receive it. And it's initiated, and both sides will know that the money has been sent.
Awesome. And then my last question was on the recycling of the funds in the bank accounts. I would imagine you're not just going to the ATM and pulling it out. I want to understand. I understand how you get the money in. I'm trying to understand, like, getting it out. Are you writing checks to the other account?
Yes. So you could do one of two things. You can actually write a check out to yourself on the personal side, or you just go and you just say, hey, I need to write out a check to my same business. And they'll look at you funny like, oh, you're taking this somewhere else? Yeah, I have to pay out of my other bank. Okay, no problem. They don't ask no questions. So to the bank, when the bank asks you, hey, Marcia, where's this money coming from? Oh, I'm actually bringing you profits from my other bank so I could sit more money with you guys. Some magic words. The bank's like, oh, yeah, keep on bringing that over, you know? And then they will even ask you like, hey, what will it take for us to have all your accounts? So now you'd be like, hey, you know, is that you're a little too far. Or, you know, the other one's giving me better rates on the merchant side. Or, you know, the other one doesn't charge me any fees. Whatever the case is. That's what you tell them. But they if you give them that answer that I just told you, they're gonna love you as a customer. They won't even question you.
And do you have any opinion about the big push to use Relay?
The which one?
The big push, like, to use RelayFi versus putting the money into the Chases, the Bank of Americas, the big box.
So the whole thing is this: if we're after business credit, we're gonna need to play the system, and this is the way you play the system. You could also keep your money outside, but it's not gonna do you good. A bank rather see you, and this is the other secret: if you're gonna open up bank accounts, at least make sure that they're 1 week apart. Why? Because you want to be able to have closing statements with different numbers. So you want one closing statement to end up at, let's say, 20,000. Okay, my statement closed. Take out some of that money, drop it in the other one. Now also have that one close at 20,000. You see that? Now all of a sudden you got 40,000 sitting in the bank.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
No problem.
Marcia, thank you so much for joining us again. Chris Burns, you're on with Charles Changuin. What's your question?
Hi, Charles. I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more about what you mean when you say to freeze an account with Amex before you open a new one. What does that do for you?
Okay, so you got to go through the credit bureaus, which is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So if you don't have your accounts frozen, like your credit pools frozen, that means that anybody can attach a debt to your name and they'll report it to the bureau. When your account is frozen, it's basically letting the bureau know, hey, I'm not authorizing no accounts to be added to my account without my authorization.
Okay.
So a freeze also doesn't allow a hard inquiry to hit your credit.
Okay.
And that's one of the main reasons why you do it. Because
Okay.
you don't want a bank to be able to just pull your credit and you already know that you're not going to get qualified because maybe your DTI is at 70, 80%. So if you put a freeze, you could say, hey, Bank of America, I need a line increase. And Bank of America is like, let me see what we can do over here. You know that we might have to do a hard inquiry. Yeah, sure, do it. But if your account is frozen, in the back of your head, you already know that even if they try to run your credit, they can't. So now you're going to force them to not be able to see your current credit, and you're going to force them to see the last credit report that they had of you. And with Amex, this is what they do. You freeze your accounts, and if they can't get in to see your current bureaus, they're actually going to go and see your last credit report. And they'll
Because it was already with them.
Correct, yes. You're going to need at least one credit card with them. And now they'll approve you based on the last scores that you had with them.
And Amex is the only one that does that?
There are a couple, like Wells Fargo would also do that. But Amex is the most famous one for doing that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Gail Unruh, you are on with Charles Changuin. What's your question?
Yeah, Charles, I'm curious, when do you start looking to apply for the credit? What you are looking for in your DUNS report and all the other things you've done to build up to actually get a card?
So is your question, when do you start looking for credit?
Well, I mean, I would start looking day one, but I mean,
There you go. I was going to tell you that.
obviously, but you're going to have to jump through hoops like anything else. I mean, on your personal credit, most people probably started with a Sears card when they were around, or a gas card, or built up some smaller credit and then built up to some actual substantial credit cards. Is it pretty much the same thing on the business side?
So on the business side, I don't know if you saw the slide with the 3 tiers. So to build business credit, number one, you're going to need the first 10 steps that I explained in the second slide. Once you have those 10 steps, now you look like a real business. Okay? It's like you showing up to work and no one knows your name. That don't look good, right?
Well, as soon as you got those 10 steps, you can.
Once you have those 10 steps, now you're ready to start with tier 1.
Oh, okay.
Now, after you do tier 1, which should take you 2 months, you move to tier 2. That should take you another 2 months. Why do I say 2 months? Because you need the company to at least report twice to your bureaus, to the Paydex score, and there's also
So if I were to follow those slides, we could probably get really decent credit within 6 months to a year.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I could definitely share with you guys a bank that'll give you $50,000 and another $35,000 with a credit card just for one pull.
That's really what I was looking for, is more like time periods, and because I mean, typically a person will have a Sears card for a long time, and then maybe they'll go apply for something else. Well,
so look
about it in a business, you're probably not going to do that.
This is, I guess, what everybody wants to know. Charles, what should I apply for? Number one, Chase. Chase's credit cards go up to $50,000.
Okay.
Their business cards, $50,000, 0% interest rate. That's number one. Number two, Amex typically goes up to $25,000. Some of their cards go up to as high as $50,000. PNC, their line of credit, and mind you, this is all no doc. This is what you guys are probably not understanding. There's no doc. So when I said to you, if you open up a bank account and you're depositing this money, you can multiply by 12, then add all your household income. That could be the money that you want to make, you know? So When they say, hey, what's your household income? This is what it is. This is my projected income, so you're not lying to them. This is it. If I continue this same money in 12 months, that's projected 100%. So you don't feel like you're doing a disservice. Why do you got to do this? Because if you say that you make 480,000, a bank will typically only give you 10% of that number because they're mitigating risk all the time. That's the formula that they have.
Now, a lot of us have more than one business because we're flipping and or renting. So there'll be one entity that is an S election with the IRS, and then another entity that doesn't have an S election. Can you use business number one that's already got credit to boost business number two somehow and get credit quicker on business number two?
The answer to that is no.
Okay.
But if you have a great rapport with the bank, it's the banker that is pushing the underwriting.
Okay.
This is what I'm telling you. I'm speaking from pure experience. I have my banker at PNC that calls me, Charles, we're rolling this out with Prime plus 2 as a special, whatever it is. Charles, should I apply for you? Hey, say no more, make it happen. Just because I built a rapport. Why? He owns a house. We have like off-topic conversations. Hey, Charles, I'm going through this problem with my tenant. Guess what I do? I give him value. And I speak to him. Hey, Mario, this is what's going on. I need this amount of money. What can we do? You know what? Let me see if there's a program for you. And he gets me stuff that is not even advertised. The power of building rapport.
Okay.
So if you follow the 10 steps that I have, if you build the tiers, remember, like you said, the time to look for money is not when you need it. It's right now. Start yesterday. Because if I could show you a way that, hey, Gail, you could take your 100,000 and produce an extra $1,000 in your pocket without needing to leave your house, would you be interested?
Well, gosh, that's a silly thing to say no to.
You could definitely say no, but you know, who doesn't want extra money? I'll take the money. If you don't want it, you lend it to me and I'll pay you 0 interest. But this is a way how you could actually be a part of different deals, gap funder, JV with deals, put your money to work. It's just another strategy without needing to touch your 401k plans or any of that.
Cool beans. Thank you, sir.
Gotta go.
Charles, excellent gold nuggets, brother. You were just dropping some bombs. I wasn't prepared for that, but it's awesome. We've got that recorded. It's going to be seen over and over again on the YouTube channel.
I got just 2 more slides I want to go over. I could just wrap it up with that.
Sure. Go. Have right at it, brother.
So the question is, yes, can you do this yourself, or how can I help? If you do it yourself, we got YouTube University. I'm here to give you guys what you can do. Mind you, I paid initially to get this done was $8,500 just to get credit cards on my sister's name. But I said, if I have to trade $8,500 for $111,000, would you do it? And you're just starting your career, would you do it? Knowing that your career and you believe in yourself now, your career can change you, would you do it? I didn't even think about it. I just did it. But nowadays we have YouTube University. You could go out buy a course. You can try applying to banks on your own. Like I said, I gave you enough material that you could go out and do this. 100%. Like I said, if you just take 5 things of what I said, and I've broken it down in a way that is so simple. My slides will be available at the end if you guys want them. But at the same time, I can help. I put here, I paid $8,500 to get these cards on the personal side. Why? Because I didn't have the time to wait to get to establish my credit profile. And also nowadays, and once you've been a part of this, I guarantee you, as of right now, you're going to see Facebook hitting you with all this build your business credit, business funding. It's going to be, the algorithm is going to be all over. But nowadays, they're charging 10 to 15% succession fee. So even in those days, that was a bargain, me paying $8,500, because it would have cost me, based on today's rates, $11,000 just to get the same amount of money. So I'm successful for that. I'll show you how to avoid the succession fees. I'm willing to give you a 30-minute consultation if you want to, really pursue getting your business credit. I'm definitely looking to help you out with that. And I could also give you your strategy. Not only me that is going to give you a strategy, but I've also connected with a company that has AI, scrapes different banks, tells you how to go after your, based on your profile, how to go after certain banks to get your money. So this is what I could do, and I'm willing to give you my presentation. So for my JJ's people, here's your free PDF that you could claim. It says get funded with MrElizabeth.com. Don't forget it, Mr. Elizabeth in the house. Or just take out your phone, scan it, and put in your information there. I'll get it. I'll give you a call sometime this week. I was going to connect it to Calendly, but I'm not sure my assistant actually helped me to do it. This is my direct number, guys. If you want to have any questions, feel free to text me. I'm here for you. JJ knows that I'm a giver. And just for you guys to also know, I speak Spanish. The Spanish community is not even taken care of at all. Everybody speaks English. A lot of these people cannot take the next step because there's nobody speaking this in their language. So my way of giving back to them is I'm actually starting to teach this in Spanish. So that's where I've been mainly focused on. JJ say, Charlie, I want you to come in. I want you to share your story. I want you to show us how you're actually started buying your real estate without no money to where you are today. This is my secret, guys. Number one was my mother believing in me. Made me change my mindset that if she believes in me more than I do, I'm messing up. So I needed to prove to her that she did me a favor for believing in me. And number two, my way of giving back is this.
LaShawn Jenkins, you're on with Charles. What's your question?
It's not really a question. I love the presentation, Charles.
Thank you so much, LaShawn. Thank you.
I actually, I have business credit. I did what you did, but I went through a company. I won't name the company because I know if that's competition, but
collaboration at this point.
I had issues. I want to be able to talk to you just for like 15, 20 minutes. Because here's the situation. I got my business credit started like in 2021. And I noticed that I have Chase, I have American Express, I have Bank of America, all 0% at the time, 0% interest. Now, of course, that's over.
Yeah.
But what I noticed and it just happened just recently, is that Chase does, I guess, a financial review. And I don't bank with them, but I had their credit cards. And so they did a financial review and they ended up taking at least I think 30,000 on one of my cards. They lowered my credit limit. And
that happened because your credit score must have dropped for sure.
It's my credit scores still is but like in the 700s, wow. Low 700. But what happened was like on I had a personal Chase card, and I think I was a little bit over the limit or whatever. Not over the limit, but it was high. It was high utilization. So I brought that down, but I don't know if that triggered them to do a whole financial review, even on the business side. And they snatched like $30-something thousand away from me. And I hadn't even used the card when I got it. Like when I first got it, I kind of missed the opportunity to be able to capitalize on like how you were doing, like do microloans. I wish I would have known you then to be able to do something like that, to kind of use this credit. And but they snatched that away. And so did American Express. I think they based that off the personal. Like I was kind of like, I think 50% card utilization, but I brought that down. So they ended up reinstating the credit limit on my personal side. However, on the business side, they still slashed those credit limits, which is kind of hurt. So now I'm like, I might have roughly around $100,000 in business credit, but I
That's
want to get
good.
it back up there.
Let me give you
So,
good news. Let me give you some good news. With
okay.
Amex, once they see usage all over again, that you're using paying, automatically they're gonna raise it to what you originally had. I
Okay.
tell you why. Because a buddy of mine did similar to you, had a card with Amex, $20,000 limit. He stopped using it for almost 6 months. Amex said, "Oh, I guess you don't need our money." They dropped him to $4,000. He just
Okay.
started right now a project. And he's like, "Charles, I had 20,000. What's going on?" And I told him, I said, "Look, call up the bank and let them know." He called them up, and this is last week. So I'm telling you, fresh off the press. He called in last week, and Amex clearly told him, he says, "Look, we saw that you didn't have no usage for the money, so we're not going to extend you the line. What you can do is use the card, pay it in full, show us you're needing the card. We're going to up the limit." Did this
Okay.
last week. He used the full 4,000. He swiped it
Okay.
on a merchant account.
Uh-huh.
A week later, he paid it off. This week, he's back to $20,000. So that's the good news on AP.
Okay.
On Chase, you're gonna need to refrain your mind, or just refrain yourself from trying to use any of their personal cards at all. Throw
Yeah.
everything on the business and stop using personal. We
Okay.
want the personal there just for our credit ratings, and it's going to keep
Yeah.
your scores high. Like you said, you were using a lot of your Chase card and none of your business side. So when you have
Yeah.
high utilization, it forces your score to drop. And that's what Chase didn't possibly like.
Okay. Got it.
And they never do financial reviews. What they review is your credit report. And probably in that time, you possibly had more inquiries than you should have. And that's what they didn't like.
Yeah. Okay. So with Chase, I was just so frustrated with them. I was like, I don't even want to use them anymore. So basically, just refrain from the personal side, but try to, if I utilize the business side the credit, then they'll reinstate it possibly, or
Chase, they have a reconsideration department.
okay.
Hey, I have a project. I don't know what type of business you have.
Well, I'm getting to real estate investment is what I was doing, but I'm a real estate broker as well. But, at the time, cash just wasn't coming in during like the COVID period and all that stuff. It was just really tough. But, now I'm trying to kind of be in the real estate investment side. And so I need to start doing something, to get that income going.
Can I give all you guys a little secret? Especially
Please.
With Chase. They don't share it. They don't talk about it. They don't tell you what to do. But if, let's say, you had 2 Chase cards, or for example, I'll use you as an example. Day of tomorrow, your credit score 720. I'm going to say, LaShawn, go to Chase, apply. Use the strategies that I gave you for when they ask you, so what is your income now? Use that. You're going to get a new card, Inc. Business Unlimited, let's say. 0% interest rate. The last card you had was what, 20,000, let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What you can do now, your first card, card A, make sure you put that at a 0 balance. Now you call up Chase and you say, "Hey, Chase, you see this first card that I have? I don't want this card anymore, but I want the limit to be transferred over to card B that I just got at 0% interest rate. So if card B had a limit of 30,000 and card A had a limit of 20,000, you can now transfer the card A to card B's balance. Now you have a $50,000 card at 0% interest rate."
Wow.
That's a nugget that I just paid $5,000 for.
Wow.
Because I think it's powerful. And for me, like I said, there's no more competition for me. It's all collaboration. Like I said, I enjoy cooking. I could give you the steak knife I use, the seasoning. You'll never cook it the same way as me. I'm not worried about that. This same information, you probably can't find it from somewhere else, but I'm giving it to you from my heart because it works.
Got it.
So I know that you're going to receive it, accept it, and possibly use it. That's the difference.
Well, I'll definitely be reaching out to you because I really want to go over it, and you can probably tell me the best way to kind of clean up this mess that I actually didn't even know, so you actually enlightened me quite a bit.
You probably got a course. You didn't have someone holding your hand.
I appreciate you, Charles. Thank you so much. I'll definitely be contacting you.
You got it, LaShawn. Anytime.
LaShawn, thank you so much for your question. Great question, and welcome to our group.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry, one last thing. PNC, should that be something I can do on my own? That sounds like a great, because I've been kind of eyeing PNC, but I didn't know too much about that company, if I should go for it or.
Whenever you open a bank account, don't think that you open the bank account today and tomorrow you ask for a loan. Doesn't work like that.
Okay.
You wanna get open up the account, show them the money is working and sitting there. Like, even if that means you got to pay interest on the Chase credit cards, but just let it sit there. The bank is going to say, oh, this person don't need the money. They're doing good. Their business is doing good. You apply on day 90. That's when you want the application to go through. That's enough seasoning, what we call in the real estate world, for your business with them. And I'm telling you the secret, they go up to 100,000. No docs needed.
Wow.
No W-2, no income tax, none of that stuff.
Wow.
Got it. Perfect. Thanks, Charles.
Got it. You got it.
Amazing. Brother, man, gold nuggets. I'm seeing pencils flying on the Zoom call and paper, and amazing. We had a good talk the other day, getting acquainted even more so than we had before. Your story touches me. Your intellect impresses me. Your drive is remarkable. And, it's just a pleasure to know you and to call you my friend. It's just, you're a very impressive young man. And that's what we want to do in real estate, surround ourselves with successful people.
Yeah.
I'm honored to call you my friend. I got two last questions for you before we go to the breakout rooms. If people want to follow up with you, whether they're on the call now, whether they're watching on YouTube later down the line, what's the best way to reach you? Is it MySpace? Is it TikTok?
No, it's actually meet me at dinner with a tomahawk steak. I'm kidding. Facebook, you'll find me there. Charles Changuin or Mr. Elizabeth. Charles Changuin, first and last name. Or you could even put up Mr. Elizabeth and you shall find me.
That's cool. I don't have some of the expertise and knowledge you have. I'm always talking about the importance of networking, building our relationships, building our network, building our brand. You and I are now in two different real estate education platforms together, programs together. Or, I'm not sure if the first one's still going or not, but that's irrelevant. But there's so many real estate education platforms, programs out today. Sub2, Astro, Talk to People, Thrive, Clever Investor. And all these programs have brand new investors coming to their community. Some have very experienced investors coming to their educational community. A lot of these people are coming to Facebook, if not for the first time as a real estate investor. As these investors, new and experienced, are coming to social media, what is the importance of networking to the success of someone's business? And what is the importance of joining a networking group like mine to the success of someone's business?
Easiest way to explain that is this. If we want to go into a house, if we only had one key, we have what is it? We got to hit it 100% in order to go in. So we're taking big risk that might not be the key. But if we have a friend that has 100 keys, that hires our odds of being able to go inside the door that we need to get to. So networking, what it does is it opens up resources that we don't have, that we don't know of, that we don't even know that exist. Like something like this. I had to show up to a meetup. I paid $40 to get one piece of advice. Then I ended up paying $8,500 to get money. I didn't think about it twice. I was happy. It got me to where I am today. Of course, it took a lot of hard work, perseverance, tears, arguments, but I'm here. I'm not dead. I've survived it. And what I'm trying to say is, when you're in the mind, or you're in circles of great minds, you get further. Sometimes these rooms are not cheap. And most of the time, these rooms are not free. Because value has a price. And it could even be priceless. So, all it takes is one deal that could change your life. But at the same time, it could only be one person that you connect with, that he or she could change your life. And you never know who's that next person if you don't put yourself out there to try to connect, network. Same way that I tell you with the banks, you got to build rapport. It's people business.
Hugely important.
You could be the smartest, you could be the richest, but you could be the poorest and still know the right person. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That'll get you to where you need to go.
There you go. Well, Charles, thank you so much, my friend. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Charles' presentation. Please put down in the comment section what your takeaways were, what you found valuable, just for others that are maybe going to come later and look at and see what you found to be valuable about the presentation. Of course, there's gold nuggets all over the place, just dropping them out of the sky. Again, if you want to connect with Charles, Instagram or Facebook are the two predominant ways for him. If you want to connect with me, look for my webpage, jjzizian.com, hit the little register now button. Please register for the group. If you're on the call right now, you've not registered yet, please register for the group. Again, real estate relationships are so important. And you do need to get to know people who you know, but also you need to make yourself visible. And you need to be memorable. If you're not memorable, you're forgettable. You need to build those relationships. You don't market your business, you market yourself. So get out there, network, let people know who you are. Look for Charles. He's all over social media, Facebook, Instagram. Look for me. I'm out there too. And look for both of us and make yourselves visible. And Charles, we'll see them down the line, right?
Guys, I'm an open book. If I've gone through it, I freely give it to you.
There you go.
And that's what takes me. I think JJ said this to me yesterday, and I took it to heart. You give what you want to get back. If you want to get love, you give as much love as you possibly can. I could give you all the value. Why? Because I know that more value will come onto me. So I don't want to be a cup that just has enough water and I never grow because I want to stay stagnant. I want my cup to always overflow so I could continue passing it all on to others.
There you go.
Abundance mindset always. Guys, God bless. My heart. JJ, you know I'm real. And anything I could do to help you guys grow, let's talk.
You're the real deal, brother.
Elizabeth in the house.
Mr. Elizabeth, that's him. Over and out, guys.